Greetings, everyone. This is Ian Ritter. I'll be moderating the New Year's webinar tonight. Chris Robbins will be presenting tonight. And before I introduce Chris, I just want to add that this will be a 90-minute webinar. We'll have places along the way where we can stop and entertain questions. Please try to keep questions relevant to the information presented. And we'll make sure to get all the questions answered before we sign off tonight. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Chris. Take it away, Chris.
All right, Ian, thank you very much. And like Ian said, we're going to start off with a little bit of introduction of what Buzztouch is, how it works, and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off just by going to the website again, like we always like to do, so you can see that there's actually people doing this stuff. Here is Ian. If you can see my screen all right, Andy, do you see my screen all right?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, and this is me over here, Chris. If you notice in your GoToWebinar screen, you'll see Warren Evans' name on there instead of Ian's. That's just because we have to log in as him. He's the meetup and webinar coordinator guy, so we log in as him to be able to coordinate these webinars. But this is our team, and let me show you what we're going to be talking about tonight. Pretty much, what is Buzztouch? For those that don't know, that may be watching this recording in the future, what you can do with Buzztouch, how does Buzztouch work, who is Buzztouch for, how is Buzztouch different than some other solutions that are out there, and then how do I get started. So that's in a nutshell of what we're going to be talking about tonight. To start off with, what is Buzztouch? This is kind of a definition right from the website, right out of the creator's mouth, and it's basically it boils down to being a content management system for app development. So it combines a very sophisticated database with a web-based control panel, and then it gives you the source code to use for your applications. So you can call it an SDK, or you can call it a front end, or you can call it a whatever you want to. Once you learn how to use it, then it all kind of makes sense. So it's being used, like it says there, by more than 175,000 people, and it's the basis for many apps. So what can you do with Buzztouch? In a nutshell, quickly develop mobile apps of varying complexity, and then manage those same apps with dynamic content from an online control panel. So instead of making an app once and launching it off into the free world, and then every time you edit it, you have to recompile it and resend it to Apple or resubmit it to Google, you can create an app and then you can change it on the fly from the control panel and keep your content up to date, change pictures, change documents, all that good stuff. So that's going to be one of the things that when we talk about how Buzztouch is different, that's going to be one of the things that kind of sets Buzztouch apart. So how does it work? This is from start to finish how you would get an app working. You create the project. The project in your control panel is basically each project equates to one application. Then you're going to
Can I ask you a quick question, or do you want to just continue through?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
When you said it self updates on that, is that with the is that when you host it that you can do that, or either way with self-host or you host?
Either way, either with the self-hosting control panel works the same way as the Buzztouch.com control panel.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right, so we're going to create a project, and then we're going to add and configure screens. So when we say screens, if you think about every screen of an application or every screen of an app, it equates to being a different type of plugin. So that's the terminology we use now for different screens as a plugin. After you configure your screens, you can download the source code. You compile that source code in the compiler, whether it's Eclipse for Android or Xcode for Apple. And then you see it running on a device or a simulator. After you do that, then you can go back to the control panel and add more stuff, change stuff, and just keep on going, keep on making the project evolve. So who is Buzztouch for? I think everyone and anyone is kind of a blanket statement, but it kind of makes sense. In the time that I've been using Buzztouch, I've seen the full gambit of of users, from varying backgrounds, using and taking advantage of the Buzztouch system. So whether you're a non-developer looking for just an easy way to get started in making an app, or if you're a developer looking for an easy way to jumpstart your app and get things built quick, or you're a web developer that's trying to convert some of your business from making websites in the past to making applications for clients, businesses wanting to kind of advertise their goods or interact with their customers, and then everything else: doctors, teachers, photographers, musicians, just about everything. I've seen from 14-year-old kids to retired people with active hobbies. So pretty much everyone and anyone. So we're going to list a couple things that makes Buzztouch different real quick. The first thing that comes to mind when we think of what makes Buzztouch different is the community. You can see screenshots on here from the forum. There's a very active forum, and it's not just those people that we showed you when we started the webinar behind the scenes helping out everybody. It's pretty much everybody that's a Buzztouch user helps each other, and it makes it very beneficial to be able to just ask a question and have people just jump on that question right away and answer it. Everybody's so willing to help that there's no way we'd be able to continue delivering the same type of product if we didn't have the community behind us. So I'm going to jump into the forum real quick just to show you around from the Buzztouch website. You can see that we've got 14,700 topics already. Each of those have many replies, and we have a cast of thousands helping us out in there, and we like to show off our top 25. You can see how some of these people have 6,000 posts, 3,000 posts, 2,000 posts, just all kinds of help being brought to the table from our own users, and that's really an awesome feeling to know that people care that much about the other people using the product. So other things that make Buzztouch different, one thing that's very important to a lot of people is that you get to keep the source code. There's a lot of services out there that will either compile your project and never let you see the source code. They'll just compile it and submit it for you. Some services will submit it for a fee. Some services will kind of do the easy compile and submit, but if you want to download the source code, they charge you extra, and usually it's a lot of money extra. And then, but at Buzztouch, everything that you design and create is yours to keep. The source code is, once you download it, it's yours. You can edit it. You can compile it over and over again, keep it just in case, and that's really what a big deal if you want to protect the application that you're working on. Another thing that sets apart Buzztouch is project scalability. What I mean by that is you can go from any stretch of just wanting to go in, click, make an app and have it done, to really adding in your own source code from other sources, hiring out some extra work that you bring in as more source code, and really making a complex app with Buzztouch. So some of the app builders that are out there, we call them like a cookie cutter solution, where there's only a few different types of pages, and you can change a few different colors or change a couple words, and really at the end of the day it looks like the other, everybody else's app that comes from the same websites. With ours, you can start with that, but then you can also branch out from that and really make it more and more complex. So the more that you learn as you're learning how to develop apps, the more you can integrate into your own apps and really start making some impressive projects.
Could I ask you another question?
Sure thing.
Okay, I brought up the same question sort of earlier. What you just spoke about, is that for self-hosted or through you that you can do all of those things?
Same answer.
Same answer.
Yep.
Okay, I never did the. I wasn't sure of having the Buzztouch host versus because we did it ourselves, so that's why I'm asking. So that was all.
That's perfectly fine. There, the self-hosting is one of the things that we're going to talk about that sets Buzztouch apart, and there's reasons for using it. There'd be reasons for not using it, and it really depends on your overall goals. So we'll discuss
Okay.
that in another
Okay.
couple minutes, I think. But don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
All right, now we talked about plugins before. Plugins being the different types of screens that you can add to your project, and we're still talking about things that set Buzztouch apart from some of the other services out there. And what makes plugins special is that we started off with a set amount of plugins, and then we opened up the plugin market to where we could allow other developers, our own members, develop plugins too. So this allows people to create new screens that didn't exist before, and we get the question all the time, hey, can I do this with Buzztouch? Hey, can I do this with Buzztouch? And the answer is always sure, as long as you have a plugin that does it, or as long as somebody can make a plugin. It's it's really limitless as to what you can do with it. So from just the beginning of this year to now, there's been dozens of plugins added that have just expanded the capabilities of Buzztouch beyond what we had started with, and beyond, we're at the point now that people are making things that we would have never thought of. So that's a really powerful thing when you think about how far, how other people developing plugins for Buzztouch can make your app better, and vice versa. If you ever decide that you want to create a custom plugin, it may help somebody else's app out. So it really unleashes the full power of the native source of each of the products, the Apple and the Android. So we're up to the first little break here, Andy, if you want to ask any more questions.
Yeah, no, I think you answered them. Are we going to take 5 or something like that?
Only if you need to.
Oh, I see. No, I don't have any other questions so far. It sounds like looks like you've made a lot of advances, and it's I'm just sold on Buzztouch. It's great. So it sounds like you're just getting better.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna.
that's all I had. I don't have any questions.
Okay, I think we're going to get into the parts now that that will kind of bring you up to date from where you remember using Buzztouch to where it is now. So this should start turning the light bulb on for you.
Okay.
All right. So where do I start? I think you've got this part down already. You've got your account and you've used it before. So I'm just going to skim through this real quick. This talks about setting up a public profile, a developer profile, and setting your email settings, visiting the forum, and introducing yourself. We've already seen your posts, so we know who you are, and that you're back and ready to go and ready to learn some more. So that's good. We have added a Buzztouch learning path, and I'll show you where that is real quick.
Okay.
In the Buzztouch U tab up here, there are a couple different learning paths. Actually, it ends up in that just talks about it. In your own account, there's a Buzztouch U tab here.
All right.
That brings up the Buzztouch learning path, an iOS learning path, and an Android learning path. And they're just a couple lessons that have little quizzes at it, and they just kind of little video tutorials that you can take, and as you do those, you earn these stars. We suggest that if you're new to Buzztouch or if you're just coming back, then you take this 5-lesson path here, the Buzztouch learning path, and it kind of explains some of the stuff that you're going to learn tonight. But I think it's 32 minutes long total, and it'd be a good thing to watch when you get a little bit.
Definitely.
And then the how-to page. The same people who are helping us out in the forums are also very, very helpful in creating how-to documents, and you can see we've got a full list here of a bunch of different things that either get asked often in the forums or just little how-tos, how to set this up, how to set that up, how to compile. So that's always a resource that if you're trying to figure something out, just check that page real quick, see if there's a document that somebody's already typed up for it. And if not, you can search the forums, and if you don't find it there, then feel free to ask it in the forums also. All right, so this is where we're going to go in and actually make an app, and this is going to be using the new system, Andy, that you said was new to you since you were using some of the older formats before. So
Right.
this is going to be using those plugins that we talked about.
Right.
So I'm going to go into my my guest control panel, and I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to add a few screens. I'm going to download the source code. I'm actually going to open it up in Xcode. We're going to be using an Apple iPhone app simulator for this, and we're going to launch it in the simulator. And then you'll see how all the pieces kind of get together. So I'm going to just make a demonstration app for us tonight.
Okay.
Going back to my control panel, and clicking on applications. This would be where my list of applications are. And I'm just going to click on new app, which brings us to that little screenshot that we had in the demonstration. I'm going to click on create a new app using the online control panel, which is going to ask for a name. So I'm going to call it new user demo 424. A couple boxes to tick there saying that I'm not going to be using any copyrighted material in my app, and that I agree to the Buzztouch terms of service. Kind of standard legal mumbo jumbo in there if you want to read it. Oops, and we're not allowed to add numbers, so we'll just call this new user demo. All right, it says that it's created, so I can continue into the control panel. And this is going to be the starting point for each app. This is kind of the home screen, if you will, for the application itself. And you're going to see a bunch of different things on the side here. Some we'll talk about tonight. Some will be things that you can explore on your own. But we're going to get everything rocking and rolling here. And the first thing I'm going to do before we even configure anything.
Right. Now, I don't think mine had published changes with a green dot.
Okay, that is something new since the beginning of this year.
Oh, maybe that was there and I didn't see it. I mean, this was like yesterday or the day before.
Okay. Some of your older apps won't have that, but the newer ones should.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about what that means.
Okay.
So all I've done is I've created the app. There's nothing in it yet. It's kind of blank app right now, and I'm just going to download the source code so I can go ahead and get it running in my simulator.
Okay.
And then from there, I'm going to go back to the control panel and start adding all the magic to it.
Okay.
So it's going to prepare this package. Once it crunches it all together for me, it gives me a download link. And it downloads a zip file for me. I'm going to open up that zipped up file, and you can see it's right here. All the folders and then instructions PDF. When you go to do this on your own, I would go ahead and read through the instructions, because it's going to tell you to do a couple things that I'm going to do in this presentation. But the Xcode project file is going to be the actual file that Xcode is going to open up. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that, and it's going to load it into Xcode. The first time you load something into Xcode, it's going to take a couple seconds to index all the files. While it does that, I'm going to show you that it does have a couple folders built into it, or groups as Xcode calls it.
So that other file you don't need to deal with then, is that right? That came over?
Which other
let's
file?
see. You don't have to do the art and all that, or what?
Well, that's part of the instructions in the instruction PDF.
Oh, okay.
It's going to
So you
say
don't
to
have to worry about
copy.
bringing that over then. I mean, you just bring the Xcode stuff.
That, yeah, I opened that up, and then it's going to say in the instructions to go ahead and grab a couple of these folders here.
Yeah.
The most important of all those is going to be the plugins folder.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The other ones are probably empty right now, but I'm going to copy them all over just to be complete.
Now you didn't. So if I select all of them, is that going to be okay?
I select all of them except for the 4 that come in there
Oh,
automatically.
okay. And I can come
I
back
just
and take a look at this webinar.
Yeah, and you can read in the instructions it
Oh, in the
says it's
instructions.
these
Okay,
5 right here.
gotcha.
I always just remember that from this list, I keep the ACCL out of my
Okay,
drag. I've
okay,
just
gotcha.
memorized that from doing it so many times.
Okay,
But really, out of all these, I think the only one that has anything in it is plugins right now, and that is going to be important that that gets in there.
okay.
So at a minimum, just drag the plugins in, but I drag them all in there. Just it gives me some organization so that when I want to drag images or videos, I can put them in the correct group.
Okay.
So this is my Xcode project with the extra folders put in there. And I'm going to see if I can launch it in an iPhone simulator. It's going to compile a couple things. And again, the first time it does this, it may take a couple seconds to crunch it all together.
You haven't even started on building the phone though, right? I mean
I haven't
your
added any screens yet,
no,
no.
no.
I just want to get it, I want to get it up and running, and
Yeah,
it'll have one blank menu in it with really nothing on it, but it'll be there just enough for it to launch.
sure.
And we're almost done. Here comes my simulator. Here we go. And we're almost there. I'm just waiting for the final app to pop up open on there. There it goes. That's not it. Oh, it thinks it's the same one that it used to be. Let me delete that out of there. All right, that's what I was looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so it loaded up a home screen, which is going to be a list menu, and there's just nothing in there yet, so it's just blank. So I wanted you to see that so you'd understand what we're looking at, what we're starting with in the control panel. So let me go back to our control panel again. And I'm going to look right here at screens and actions. This menu will be my list of screens, and you can see that it comes default with just one that says home screen menu. And that's what we're seeing here is just this home screen menu, but it has nothing to link to it. So I'm going to start adding some more screens and kind of just make this app actually do something. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've kind of decided I want to make, let's say I wanted to make an app for the city of Denver, kind of like a travel guide or an information guide on the city of Denver. So I'm going to add a couple screens first. And I know I'm going to have a couple menus that I'm going to link off of. So let's say one menu is attractions. And maybe I want that to be another menu simple, which is a list menu similar to that first one. And then I'm going to have one called sports to list out some sports teams. I'm going to use the same type of menu again. And let's add another one called dining. And I'll use the same menu simple again. So when I go back and look at my screens menu, you can see I've got all these menus now. The home screen I started with, and then the 3 more list menus that I added. Now, if those are all going to be menus, they're not actually going to be content screens. So I'm going to add some content screens to them that I can actually link to it. So I'm going to add one content screen for each of the different menus. So I'm going to add, for my dining, I'm going to add one called Maggiano's, and I'm going to link that to a custom URL, which is going to be basically a web page. It's going to link to their web page. I'm going to add another one. Let's call it Denver Broncos for the sports page. And it's going to link to a custom URL also. And for attractions, let's say Denver Zoo. So I'll go back to my screens menu, and we'll see my 3 menus again, and then my 3 content screens or my 3 web pages. So I've added everything in there, but if I refresh the simulator, I'm not going to see a change yet because I haven't linked anything together yet. So I've created
you have actually 4 home screens and 3 content, right?
Yeah.
So
But I haven't linked anything together yet, so it doesn't know what to do with anything yet. So now I'm going to start actually piecing the app together.
What I meant was the home has no content screen. It's just static.
Right. So I'm going to use this home screen, and I'm going to link to those other 3 screens.
Okay.
So the row title is just what's going to show up, like when we look at one of these screenshots here. The row title is just going to be the actual words that happen on the row. So my row titles are going to be basically the same as my screen titles. I'm going to start with dining, or let's just call it places to eat just to make it even fancier. And this wants to know what the name of the screen is. So if I remembered it was dining, I could type it in. If I didn't remember what I named it, I can hit select, which brings up a list of all my menus or all my screens. And I can just find this dining one here and select it, and it fills it in for me. And I'm going to hit add on that. And now you can see it's in this list here. So I'm going to build this list up with my other 2. So the next row title is going to be, let's say, sports teams. I can call that. And I remembered that I called that sports, I believe. Or I could use the selector to select it again. And then the last one was attractions. Let's call it things to see. And then I'll call that screen was attractions and add that. So now I've added my 3 screens, my 3 menus to my main menu. So let's go ahead and refresh. I'm going to load this back up. I'm going to hit this refresh button right here, which would be the same thing if I just recompiled it. It's just looking, when I hit this refresh button, it's calling back to the Buzztouch server, and it's saying, hey, what does the app look like now? So I hit refresh. My home screen is still here, and now I've got my 3 menus. Anything that I click on any of these menus is just going to go to an empty screen again because we haven't added our content to those yet.
Right.
So I can see my 3 empty menus. So let's go ahead and add our content screens to these 3. So I'm going to go back to my screens menu. Still have the same screens here. I'll start with this attractions one here. I need to add a row to that, and that one we'll call Denver Zoo. And I'll just use the selector to pull up that page. That was Denver Zoo. And add that. And that was the only one I added for that, so I'll go back to my screens menu, pull up sports, add my row for Broncos. I don't get marked off for bad spelling, do I, Andy?
No way.
All right. And that was called the Denver Broncos. And then back to my screen menu to click dining. And if I go too quick, just tell me to slow down. sometimes there's a little bit of lag in the screen, what you see versus what I see.
Yeah.
So the last one, I'm going to say best in Denver. That could be subjective, but
Yeah.
it looks like a good thing to put on the menu at least. All right. So let's go look at what that looks like with my refresh there. Now when I go to places to eat, I see my menu items there. Sports team, I've got a menu item, and then things to see. Now the last thing we have to do is actually connect those pages, which are these 3 content pages, to the actual websites.
Yeah.
Whenever you add one of these custom URLs, I think it defaults to google.com. So if we clicked on it, it would think that we're going to Maggiano's, but it just loads up Google. So we're going to change that real quick. So back in my control panel, I'll click on this first one. And this is under the document web address or the URL. So we're just going to change that to Maggianos.com and hit save. We can go back to screens and do the same thing for the Denver Zoo. I believe that's a .org. I did a little bit of homework before we started this.
Yeah, are you guys in Monterey?
I'm actually in Virginia.
Oh, in Virginia. Okay.
Yep. And this last one was denverbroncos.com. All right, so I hit save on all those. I'll go back to my home screen, hit that refresh button again. And now let's see if I can pull up a web page. Depending on how web friendly, oh, it's actually a very mobile friendly menu. Yeah. So that actually looks good. So having something like this built into your app, it actually looks like it's, it's an app that's built in.
Absolutely.
So let's see what the Broncos web page looks like. Sometimes I pull one up that just doesn't even look, it looks like just a bad website.
Well, some of them are bad on the mobiles.
Yeah, this one actually looks decent. Very useful.
Big companies have kind of, yeah, but that looks fine.
And let's look to see how the Denver Zoo looks. Oh, and it popped over to mobile, so that's good. So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
So last thing I'm going to do is just make this a tiny bit prettier. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to my screens and go to my home screen menu. And all we did on these menus before was just add some row items to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a screen background image in. And to do this, you have a couple different ways of doing it. You can use an image URL, which would just be a link to any image. So if I knew if I hosted the image somewhere, I could use that. Or I could use an image file name. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that there's a file named denver.jpg that it wants to pull up for my background image. I'm going to hit save. Now, if I used a URL, I could go in and hit refresh right now and it would work just fine. But because I'm using an actual file, it's going to look for this file in my app, and I don't have it in there yet. So the next step I have to do real quick is I'm going to open up Xcode, and we can see that I've got an empty images folder here.
So in that URL, it would you would put the URL where that particular color is, and it'll just pull that right in?
Yeah, if I used if I linked to a graphic from a web page or something like that, it would pull that right in. Okay. Now that would be obviously dependent on the person using the app having internet access.
Yeah.
But the first time they launch it, it will cache that file into the app, and it will kind of keep it there for when they don't have internet access. Maybe they're not on Wi-Fi. It will still be there once they see it once.
Okay.
But I always like anytime it's something small like an image that I can include in the app, I try to do it just to keep it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find in my let's see, what was it? Desktops, user app, and here's this denver.jpg. I'm just going to drag that right into Xcode. my images folder. Tell it to copy in there. Now, anytime you add a file into my list here, I do have to hit the recompile button or the run button, because you'll see what it does. It'll say it's going to copy that over, and it'll probably be fairly quick this time. So it said copying one new resource over. So it didn't have to recompile everything. It just copied that one new file over, and then it will relaunch the app for me. And it says this app content has changed. Would you like to refresh? So it recognizes that there was a change in the control panel. And I hit yes.
Cool.
And there we go. So I'm going to do just one more thing to make it even prettier. This looks definitely better than what we started with.
So the only artwork, original artwork, and the only original artwork you need is on the iTunes app image.
For the
the
app icon itself.
Yeah, the app icon. Because we didn't. I noticed you.
Yeah, we didn't. I didn't create one of those. I'm just using. If we look at it, it gives you a generic one, you know, a built-in one that you would want to change that.
Okay. All right, because I remember the other time it seemed to me you had to do the icon artwork and then you had to do the that screen artwork.
Right. I think before you'd have to create that first before you downloaded it, and that's really I would still recommend that before you download the source code. That's the only thing I would really recommend you do, just because Buzztouch has built into it the ability to scale all the images that you need, and when you download it, then inside Xcode, all of these files, and here they are down here. All these files here will get created for you. If you upload one file, it'll create all the ones that's necessary for the app to get approved by Apple. Great. So it saves you a step, really.
Yeah.
I just went ahead and skipped that this time.
Right.
So the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into my home screen menu, and I'm going to change the way that the list looks. So I've got a list layout and color. I'm going to make the list background color. That's the name of the color of the background of the actual list. And the row background, I'm just going to make that white, which I could either type it in if I memorized it, or I could use the selector and pull up any color in here. I'm going to just pull up white. I'm going to hit save on that. And then I'm going to change the list style. So the list style is either square corners like it is now. You can see that everything is square. I'm going to change it to a rounded corners. And then I'm going to hit save. Just refresh. That's not what I wanted to see. Oh, let me change. Maybe I wasn't supposed to change this. There we go.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't look like it's saved. Let me select this again. Change that to rounded again. My computer's been acting a little funky today. And there we go. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
So the row background is white now. It's rounded. It kind of looks like it's kind of floating there and sitting there on top of the picture. And makes it look a lot better than what we started with. So that's, in a nutshell, what you do. And let me go back to the screens menu so you can see real quick that this is the list of types of plugins that come default. And you can see you could link to a PowerPoint, a location map, an HTML document, Excel, Word, PDF. You can have these interaction actions here for sharing with email, send to email, sending an SMS or a text, and just all these different plugins. Now these are the ones that come built in, and that's probably very similar to the same types of screens that you remember seeing.
Yeah.
So let's look at this link up here for plugins, and this is actually a link to the plugin market. And now I'm going to just scroll through real quick. You can see that there's a lot more than just the ones that are built into the control panel. So there's different types of menus. There's different types of utilities that you can use. There's a weather screen, video players, thumbnail viewers, audio streamers, tip calculators, a full blogging program that you can put in there. This is one of the menus that you can pull up that you can see. Adds a lot of style to the menus.
Oh, okay.
You can actually make some pretty nice menus with this one. Here's a couple different examples.
Yeah.
So you can get pretty darn creative with all the plugins. And the way they work, some of them are free, some of them cost money, some of them cost one price for a guest and one price for membership, which we'll talk about in a couple seconds. So you can see like maybe this message locator would cost $4.99 if you were just a guest using the system, or it was free if you're a member.
Okay.
And once you start adding those in, then you can really, add a bunch more stuff. Like, let's say this circle view list menu is a pretty fancy one that people are using a lot.
Nice.
That would scroll up and down and just add a lot of flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to this presentation. This just keeps me on track of what I'm supposed to be talking to you about. We demoed downloading it. You've done this before, so you know that the Apple products, you obviously need a Intel-based Mac to compile anything for Apple, whereas for the Android market, you can compile with either a Mac or a PC.
Okay.
And that leads us up to the break for questions. Kind of the, I just built the app.
Right.
Is there any questions about anything I did or anything that you'd want to see different on it?
Let's see. Okay, could you go back to the, I guess, the plugins that are in the system, or the ones that are, yeah.
The ones that came kind of built in?
Yeah, built in.
Okay.
Where are those plugins? Under applications. Okay.
Yeah, on your screens.
Oh, I see.
If you do add new, you can do it that way, or if you go to your main, if you click up here on your name, it brings you to your main account menu. And I think there's one over here called purchased plugins, installed plugins.
Oh, I see.
So installed plugins kind of shows all the ones that I've got installed in my control panel. And if I was to purchase some, this is just, this is my guest account. This is kind of a default account. If I purchase some from the plugin market, then they would show up in here as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand. Okay. All right. So if I selected one of these plugins, it would then prompt me to the next step on completing it.
If you were in one of your actual apps. So I would go to applications first, select the application I wanted to edit, then click on screens, and then I could either edit what screen I already have or add a new one.
Okay.
So by adding the new one, it just puts it into this list, and then you click into it where you actually edit all the different settings for it.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other questions about that?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll continue.
I'm just going to, before we move on, I just want to say hi to Jeffrey that just joined us. I'm going to unmute your mic, Jeff, and if you want to just say hello, or if you had any questions about where we're at in our webinar. You're live on your mic if you want to speak, Jeffrey, or if you don't want to. If you just want to pay attention, that's cool.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I just got home.
Cool.
That's cool.
Well, so far we've built a simple app, and we were about to start talking. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about plugins, but mostly we're going to move on to the difference between members and guests, that kind of stuff. But was there anything with pertaining to the app building part that you have any questions on? Have you built apps with us before?
Questions come into. I think that the current web page that I've got set up.
I'm sorry, your mic was going out on my end. Try that again. Speak again.
My comes around the app current web I've currently developing.
Converting your web page to an app, is that what it was?
web that I've already got hosted. So
I think that's his question, but your connection's breaking up. But Jeffrey, if you want to type your question into the box below, we might be able to help you out better. Your connection's breaking up. So if you want to type your question in there, then you don't have to hear me tell you to talk again. But we can move along on the presentation while we wait for his typed up.
Okay.
Wait, here he is. Can I connect the app to a current hosted web page? And basically, we did that in our little presentation. If you just want to show him, I guess, that screen.
Oh, okay. In this particular app, I just added a link to a couple different web pages. This happens to be Maggiano's web page. And then I also linked in a sports team for the Denver Broncos. So these are all just websites that are being loaded into the app automatically from a URL. You just give it a URL, and it adds it. And then the last one was the Denver Zoo. So that would be in our system called a custom URL screen, which shows up in the control panel right here. Any of these screens here, you basically just give it a URL, and then it loads that into the app.
And you can't short step at one move by putting that URL in the next screen over, right? So once you go from the home screen, you'd click on that, and it would take you right to the URL.
You could. There are a couple short.
I mean, if for some reason you wanted to go right from, let's
yeah,
say,
you could.
attractions over to the Denver Zoo or something like that.
Yeah, you could do.
I'm sorry, go from right to the home screen to the Denver Zoo.
Yeah, you could certainly do that. So if I just put in here Denver Zoo and then selected my screen, the same one that's already linked, you can link them over and over and over again. So I'll pick that custom URL screen again and hit add. Then when I refresh my app, it just ends up as a row, and it goes straight to it.
Yeah.
So maybe in this example, maybe this could say like right here, just Chamber of Commerce, and it would just go right to Denver's Chamber of Commerce website and be done with it.
Okay.
So yeah, you can put them in any order. Basically, you just create the screens, and then you just link them to whatever you want to link them to.
Would that answer your question, Jeffrey? I believe that's what you asked. So pretty powerful stuff. Really cool.
All right, I'm just going to keep on rolling forward with this, and there'll be another break for questions.
Yeah, I just want to make a note that I am recording this session, Jeffrey, so you can look back at it later at the link that we'll post.
okay.
All right, so this next part here is just we talked about that there's kind of a difference between a guest and a member, and starting at the beginning of this year, we kind of just simplified the whole membership model of Buzztouch and decided that we're going to have guests that are free to come and sign up and not pay a penny for anything and create a couple apps and try it out and see how they like it and have a certain amount of things that they can do and can't do. And then members would be the people who have decided that Buzztouch is a good solution for them, and it allows them to create more apps and have a lot more privileges along the way. So this is going to kind of talk about what the differences are between the two, and then obviously I'll entertain any questions. So a guest, we didn't want to take away all privileges from a guest. We want somebody to come and be able to create an app and launch it and compile it and get it all done and see how everything works. You know, we didn't want to scale it down so much that a guest wouldn't be able to, you know, do anything at all. So a guest can create up to 3 apps in the Buzztouch control panel. They can download the source code just like anybody else and keep the source code. They can use the forums for asking any questions. They can make purchases in the plugin market. So when I showed you the plugin market, we saw that There were obviously a bunch of free plugins, and then some of the user-created ones. The users, just to reiterate that, the users that make these, you can see that this is a user named The Monster. He created this Twitter plugin. He's the one that sets the prices on these. We don't. So he decided that a guest would pay $4.99, and then he's giving it to the members for free. So that's some way that some of the developers like to give back to the rest of the community. And you can see that generally speaking, the guest price is going to be a little bit more than the membership price. But if you wanted to come and pay nothing for membership and still get some of the newer, fancier plugins, then by all means you have that option. So that you can download any plugins that you want, attend any of the public webinars, just like this one. This is a public webinar. And then there will be select live events that maybe get-togethers or meetups that you can attend also. So we try not to restrict the possibilities for a guest. More so, we like to just give more capabilities to a member. So when we look at what a member gets, instead of 3 apps, they can create up to 50 apps in the Buzztouch control panel. They also have the option of this self-hosted control panel software that you were talking about earlier, Andy, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Let me get through the rest of these bullets, and I'll elaborate on what the self-hosted software is. If you do use a self-hosted server, you can create unlimited apps. Just like everybody else, keep the source code for all the apps.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was on my phone. I turned my mic off. On the... Oh, I forgot my question. It was something... I'll think of it. Oh, I know. When you buy one of the plugins and hit install, does it go right to the simulator?
No, it just installs it into your control panel so that you can use them in your app.
Oh, I
so
see.
in this case, where I showed you on that demo app that we were creating, oops, on this demo app that we were creating, when we look at the screens, it would add it right here into this list. So once I purchase it, it would just make this list longer and longer, and then I could actually add that to an app. So it doesn't add it automatically to an app because it doesn't know if you want to use that particular plugin or not.
Okay.
But it does give me the option to add it once I purchase it, and then configure it and give it a name and add it to an app. Good question.
And I just want to note that you would, Andy, need to re-download your source code to have that new plugin included in your project.
Okay.
Correct. Correct. So if let's say I purchased that Twitter plugin and I wanted to add it to this app that we were working on, because those plugins get downloaded right here and we drug them into our Xcode, you can see that the Twitter one wasn't in there. So we would have to either download it and drag it into here, or as Ian said, you could just download the whole source code again and just relaunch it, and it would obviously be a part of it.
Okay.
Good question. So again, talking about a members, we added a couple of features to the members, and the first one was push notifications. So there's a bunch of different push notification services out there, and we decided let's just take the middleman out and not make somebody go to another website and sign up for their service and download their SDK and drag it into their project. We're just going to build it right into the control panel. So if you're a member, you'll have a full menu on your app that says push notifications that lets you set that up. So if you've ever gotten something from one of the apps that you've downloaded that pops up on your screen and says, hey, there's a new version of this, or check out this new feature, that's what a push notification is. Another benefit of a member is that they can buy or sell plugins in the plugin market. So not only can you buy the plugins, and in most cases buy them for a discounted rate versus what a guest would pay, but you also have the option of creating plugins if you acquire that skill along the way, like many of our users have, and start selling plugins in the market yourself. So there's several, many of our users are building these plugins for other people to use, selling them for a couple bucks a pop, and making some money back for their time invested. Other things, exclusive member-only webinars. We have a lot of different training sessions that are member-only, and you can only get invitations to them if you sign up through your member control panel. And then a membership badge to show in the forum. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. We pop into the forum, and we see, let's see if we see a post by our good friend Kitsy here, or Fred. You can see that they've got a membership badge, and it's really just something that shows that they've, they're supporting the system that they're using, and just a little badge to show, how proud they are to be a member. And then any new member-only improvements, we're always trying to think, the leadership team is always trying to think of new features we can add that would add more value to the membership and give back to, as a way to thank you guys for, investing your time and money into our system. So that's basically the difference between a guest and a member. We talked about the self-hosted software, and that's basically, we've created a whole version of the Buzztouch control panel that you can download and host on your own website, and that gives you the flexibility of creating more than just the 50 apps that you can at buzztouch.com. You can create as many as you want since it's on your server. You have control of changing the way that particular server looks, so you can private brand it yourself. So if you were a developer who was creating apps for other people, and you wanted them to be able to log into a control panel and make changes or add pages or change their content, then you have that all hosted on your server, and you control who gets to log in and stuff. So like I said earlier today, it's not for everyone. It's definitely a very powerful system if you want to configure it up and get it running on your own server and learn how to use it. But if you're content with using the Buzztouch hosted server, then it's really the same thing, just depends on where you're logging into it.
So the guest doesn't have self-hosted, member does.
That's correct.
Okay, great. I see. Okay.
So this question break here is basically an opportunity to ask any questions of the guest versus membership process, and a lot of that is also explained at the top here under pricing. We wanted to make it very simple. We didn't want 17 different membership models and yearly and monthly, and one price for iOS and one price for Android and a higher price if you want to do both. We just wanted something very simple that says if you want to just log in for free and make a couple apps and try it out, then you're a very welcome guest of ours. If you want to do more and get more privileges, then you have the option of becoming a member.
Now, maybe you're going to talk about this in a minute, but is there a place that has a point-by-point instruction sheet of building the app that you just went through? I think there was one instruction sheet that you showed, but I just wanted to make sure that's the one.
That instruction sheet that came in the download right here, I'll open that up real quick. That's an instruction on how to, since I downloaded an iOS project, it shows you here to unzip the project, drag these 5 folders that I showed you, that we dragged those into Xcode, and then it just shows you how to launch. Hit the run button.
Okay, that's basically what I was looking for. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's that again? I'm sorry.
That's the instruction PDF that comes when you download the source code. It comes in that same zip folder.
Okay.
It doesn't show how to add the screens, in the control panel, like we did, but it shows you how to get the Xcode all set up, and you'd have a different instruction sheet that would download if you downloaded an Android project. That would show you how to get it set up in Eclipse.
Okay. Are you going to get to the point of uploading both iPhone and Android?
No, for practical time, we usually just pick one or the other.
That's
and
usually you just do iPhone?
In these webinars, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Some of the Android projects take a lot more time to compile, and it wouldn't be fun watching my computer just sit here and
Okay.
compile for minutes and minutes. There's more of a wow factor with the iPhone simulator too. It's much quicker and crisper.
Oh,
That's
great.
just a personal preference.
Yeah.
Um, but back to this membership versus guest. What we like to do with for sitting through the webinar and asking the questions and taking the time to learn about the product, we always like to throw out, oops, that's not it, throw out a promo code in case you decided to join. So since we were talking about the Denver today, if you use a promo code milehigh, that's going to work for 2 weeks, and it's going to give you $20 off your yearly membership. So you could get the membership for $59.99 instead of $79.99. And the price that you sign up with is also your renewal price. So a year from now, if you decided to renew with us, then you would still get that same discounted price.
Well,
So
you got me. That
yeah,
sounds great.
jot that down in case you decide to sign up.
Yeah.
We try not to be high sales pitchy. Neither Ian or I are salespeople. We don't try to be sales pitchy. We just want you to make sure that everybody that attends the webinars, first and foremost, understand what Buzztouch is, and understand the membership model. As simple as it is, we still want to make sure that everybody understands it. And then we always like to reward you guys for taking the time to listen to me blab on about this stuff for a while.
Well, the forum is really, really good. I mean, you always get good help out of that.
Yep, we are very proud of that.
That's great. I mean, that it's just really, really good. It's a good operation. Glad you
Yep.
guys are there.
Well, it's fun for us. It's this is something that we're passionate about, and I hope that really does shine through, and it's easy to see that we're passionate about it. And it's not just us; it's our own members, and that's what really makes it great. We just had a meetup in St. Louis last weekend, and the members that showed up, they were so gracious, and we enjoyed meeting every single one of them and hearing their success stories. And that's what this last page is about: success stories. Just talking about some of the people that have used the system in the past and have succeeded. We love hearing those stories. I'm also the host of the podcast called Buzzcast, and I've interviewed many people. I've interviewed Serge here on the left, and heard his story about how he found Buzztouch and how he's using it in his photography business, and how he's able to really change the way that he does business online. And it's great to hear those stories. So we hope to someday hear both Andy and Jeff, talking to us and writing a post in the forum about their approved apps and how they're succeeding, and we love to hear that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
I
So
have
that's
high expectations of that'll happen.
very good. That's basically all the content that we have for these webinars, and we just open up the forum to open up the floor to any more questions that you guys may have about any part of what we talked about tonight.
I'm fine, thank you.
Cool. Well, great presentation as always, Chris. I just want to reiterate what Andy said about the forum. That's to me your best friend. That's your gold ticket. If you get stuck with your app building, I would head there first, search the forums, and if you can't find your answer, there's no silly question to ask. Just get on there, and you know, Andy, that within minutes, people from all over the world will be jumping in to help. So just
Yeah, good. They're good
yeah,
answers. They tell you what you need to know, and you're right. It's prompt, fast.
yep. So do we have any?
How do the points work?
The points that you see in the forums, and especially if you look at the top 25, you can see they're racking up some pretty big points. There's kind of a secret formula behind it that David, who's our founder, has kind of put together. And points, you get a certain amount of points for every post that you do in the forums. You get points for any of the how-tos that have been written. You'll get rewarded with points as a thank you. And there's been some rewards in the past as to what you can actually get from the points, but it's kind of unstructured right now, and nothing's set in stone. There's nothing you can like hit the cash in button, cash in for anything. But
That's fine. I was
I can
curious.
promise you that most of these people have been rewarded some way or another from
Yeah.
Buzztouch. Again, as a way for us to think. There's obviously, with this many posts, there's no way that we could field all the questions that these guys do, on our own. So we love it.
Okay.
Great. And Chris, if you just want to show them where they can view the past webinars and the recorded
Okay.
webinars.
All right. And if I believe if I go into my account menu again and go over to webinars, has a list of all the webinars that are either past or the ones coming up. And you can see that for any of these here that have video links, then these are ones that have been recorded and you can play back. So here's another new user webinar that we did, what would that be, 2 weeks ago? And you can watch that, and you can maybe see not only the presentation again, but you can hear the people who attended and hear their questions, and they may have questions that you might not have thought of yet. So it's a good way to catch this stuff again and again and see how we build apps. And we got a lot of things going on with the webinars. We try to keep them going to help keep everybody engaged.
Yep, and I'll be posting this within the next 24 hours. The link will be up for this webinar.
Yep.
But
So
I would suggest,
show up right here.
Yeah, but feel free to browse the other webinars as well. There's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff in there.
Sounds
So,
good.
anybody have any other questions before we wrap the night up? As always, the forum is there, your best friend. I'm on it constantly as well. I always have a question, and people are there to help me as well, as much as I think I might know. So,
Yep.
so great. Hope you guys enjoy the promo code that Chris made for you guys, Mile High.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, just dive in, start building some cool stuff. Even as a guest, there's plenty of features to build really cool things. So just get comfortable with Buzztouch, and when you're ready to make the member switch to get even more tasty treats, you'll be on your way. So
Sorry, just one quick one here. When you select self-host, is there some option once you become a member to make a self-hosted app? If you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically with the self-hosting, you will download a full zip file that has the control panel that you will need to upload onto your website. Now
So
there
I
are
click on self-hosting as opposed to one of the others.
It'll be in your account under self-hosted servers.
Okay. As a member.
And yeah, you can download the zip file, but it won't work until you're a member and you get what's called an API key. This API key, which lets your server talk to our server, and it just validates that it's working.
Okay, so do I have to have the website built?
You need to have a web server. It doesn't have to be a website, but you do have to have a web server somewhere.
Okay.
And in the how-tos, I believe there's a couple different information files here on installing the self-hosted control panel on your own site.
I see.
So it's not, I wouldn't say it's something that's super easy. You do have to know a little bit about websites, FTP, how to set up MySQL, databases, how to create database users. But it's stuff that you can do if you have a cPanel account. It's stuff that you can all do within cPanel if that's the type of hosting that you have.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then ask in the forums when it's not working.
Sure, sounds good.
Alrighty, great.
Alrighty.
Well, if we're all caught up, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and Chris for presenting. We really look forward to doing these and meeting all the new members, and even when older members stop by, it's always cool. to hear everyone's voices. So look for the new user webinars every 2 weeks. We do them every Wednesday, every 2 weeks. So I guess we're going to sign off for the night, but we want to wish you guys a great night, great day, wherever you are. And we'll see you guys on the forums. Build some cool
All
stuff.
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Have a great
Thanks a
night.
lot.